I mean, it's easier than ever to vote now with the changes that have been passed. Early voting means that you basically have an election season instead of an election day. But still, in these mayoral races, since 2009, we've seen turnout go from around 130,000 voters to 92,000 in the latest 2021 race. Will a more open field inspire more people to participate?
Yeah.
Is some of that drop off because you had Doug in office and it was kind of assumed that he would, especially with, after his first term, he posted some pretty commanding victories. Does this opening of the field maybe encourage more people to get involved? Maybe they'll identify more with the candidate.
Yeah.
I mean, I think even just by nature of having 8 candidates, canvassing the city and holding events has the potential to get more people involved. But also candidates are very strategic about where they go and who they talk to. They tend to invest more of their time, in neighborhoods where people vote more. And so that creates kind of a feedback loop where you're spending more time on the people that tend to be more engaged, and it kind of further drives out the people that you're not reaching. And I mean, for young people in particular, but across the board, what are candidates going to do to inspire, average Detroiters out on the street? Talk to the streets is something I hear from people all the time. How are we reaching people out here who are just living their lives, trying to survive? They don't have time really to get detailed, get into the weeds on different processes and what candidates are doing. But hopefully this is a way to make that more digestible for people too.
Yeah. And I also think that talking about the things that go on in people's lives every day, the challenges that they face every day, really focusing on them and having dialogue about them is another way to get more people interested. If you want to talk about affordable housing, go talk to the folks who are struggling to keep themselves in a stable housing environment. You want to talk about public safety, go to the neighborhoods where public safety is still a real challenge. I mean, we're doing way better than we used to do with especially violent crime in Detroit, but there are still places that are very unsafe and where people are vulnerable all the time. I think getting the candidates to really talk about not just how bad the problem is, but what they will do differently to get different outcomes is one of the things that I hope gets more people interested.
Yeah, I think when things are broken, it contributes to this idea that it doesn't matter if I vote or what I do. Yeah, and that there's no way to fix these problems through the traditional political process. But me and you have covered government for a long time. We've seen where even a handful of people can affect change, on a city level like this. And I think candidates themselves are going to have to be frank with people. You talk about public safety, we're posting some pretty historic lows in terms of violent crime.
Yeah.
But anybody that's been a victim of violent crime doesn't feel like the city's getting any safer, right?
That's right.
If you're in a neighborhood where it's hard to get police to show up to your door, you're not going to really celebrate the fact that we've got, the lowest homicide rate since 1970 or whatever the statistic is. And I think, for people that maybe feel that there's been investment into our infrastructure. If your house gets flooded when a pipe breaks, that kind of shatters whatever narrative is being, told to you as well. And so we're trying to be realistic about, what's happening in the city, because also I think when news organizations, put together a certain narrative of the direction that a city is headed, right, kind of flatten things down in that way, miss some of the nuance of what's happening, people are going to read that and then it turns them off as well.
Yeah.
They feel like, this is all being orchestrated.
They don't see themselves
right
in there anyway. They don't see their reality being reflected in all of that.